The billing alert hit my phone at 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday, flagging unauthorized access to the Hartwell estate file. I stared at the notification through bleary eyes, my coffee growing cold on the nightstand. Frederick Newcastle, 42 years old, e-discovery counsel at our trusts and estates firm in Des Moines. 20 years of practice had taught me that middle-of-the-night alerts rarely brought good news. The case management system showed someone had accessed the Hartwell file at 1:43 a.m. The timestamp made no sense. Our office had been locked since 6 p.m. Security logs showed no badge swipes after hours. I pulled up the access history on my laptop. The user ID belonged to Declan Greenfield, our former summer associate who'd left 3 months ago. His credentials should have been deactivated the day he walked out. The Hartwell estate was worth $12 million. Old money. Conservative investments. The kind of client who demanded perfection and paid premium rates for discretion. Mrs. Hartwell had specifically requested that only senior attorneys handle her file. I scrolled through the recent activity. Someone had downloaded correspondence files, billing records, and client contact information. The digital footprint was clean, methodical, professional. My phone buzzed again. Another alert, this time from the Morrison Trust account. Then the Patterson estate. 4 more notifications followed in rapid succession, each showing the same pattern. Late-night access, document downloads, Declan's supposedly deactivated credentials. I called our IT department's emergency line. The automated system informed me that technical support would resume at 8 a.m. Standard protocol for a firm that handled routine estate planning, not corporate espionage. The downloads had targeted our highest value clients, families with generational wealth, complex trust structures, and reputations that couldn't survive public scrutiny. The kind of information that could destroy lives if it fell into the wrong hands. I checked my email. Nothing from Declan since his departure. His LinkedIn showed he'd joined a competing firm across town, the same firm that had been aggressively pursuing our clients for the past 6 months. The pattern was becoming clear, but the motive remained hidden. Declan had been ambitious during his summer stint, eager to impress, quick to volunteer for additional assignments. I'd mentored him personally, sharing insights about client management and case strategy. Now someone was using his digital identity to systematically harvest our most sensitive files. I grabbed my keys and headed for the office, knowing that whatever I found there would change everything. The office building stood empty at 2 a.m., its glass facade reflecting the scattered streetlights of downtown Des Moines. My keycard still worked, though security would log my entry. I'd deal with those questions later. The elevator carried me to the 14th floor in silence. Our firm occupied the entire level, a testament to 3 decades of successful estate planning and trust administration. The hallways that buzzed with activity during business hours now felt hollow, sterile. I made my way to the IT server room, a climate-controlled space behind the main conference room. The door required a secondary access code that only partners and senior associates possessed. Declan shouldn't have known it. The server logs painted a disturbing picture. His credentials had been reactivated remotely on September 15th, 2 weeks after his departure. The authorization came from an administrative account that belonged to Octavia Greenfield, our managing partner. But Octavia had been in London that entire week, attending a conference on international estate planning. I'd covered her client meetings myself. I pulled up the email trail. The reactivation request appeared legitimate, complete with Octavia's digital signature and proper departmental routing. Someone had either compromised her account or possessed sophisticated knowledge of our internal systems. The downloaded files told a more specific story. Declan's ghost account had accessed confidential correspondence between our firm and the Hartwell family's financial advisors. Private communications about tax strategies, asset transfers, and family disputes that could devastate their reputation if made public. Similar breaches had occurred across our client base. The Morrison Trust files contained details about a messy inheritance dispute involving allegations of elder abuse. The Patterson estate included sensitive information about offshore accounts and questionable charitable deductions. Each download had occurred during off hours, when our monitoring systems operated on reduced sensitivity. The timing suggested someone familiar with our security protocols and shift schedules. I checked the physical access logs. Declan's keycard had been deactivated properly, but the building's master system showed irregular entry patterns during the same time frame as the digital breaches. Someone had been entering the building using alternative credentials. The maintenance logs revealed the answer. Emergency access codes had been used on 3 separate occasions, all during the window when files were being downloaded. Those codes were reserved for building management and required advance authorization from our office administrator. I pulled up the authorization requests. Each one bore the signature of Octavia Greenfield, requesting after-hours access for urgent client matters. The requests appeared in our system with proper timestamps and approval workflows. But the digital signatures were forgeries. Subtle differences in the metadata revealed that these documents had been created using a different software version than Octavia typically used. Someone had reverse-engineered her approval process with remarkable precision. My phone rang, startling me in the quiet office. The caller ID showed Octavia's number. "Frederick, what are you doing in the office at this hour?" Her voice carried the crisp efficiency I'd known for 8 years. "Following up on some security alerts." "When did you get back from London?" 3 hours ago. I saw the building access notification and wanted to check. Is everything all right?" I explained the situation, walking her through the I'd discovered. The silence on her stretched longer than comfortable. "Frederick, I need you to stop what you're doing and come to my house immediately. Don't discuss this with anyone else until we talk." The line went dead. I gathered the printed logs and locked the server room, my mind racing through the implications. Someone had orchestrated an elaborate scheme to steal our most sensitive client information, using forged authorizations and compromised credentials. The drive to Octavia's house took 15 minutes through empty streets. She lived in a restored Victorian mansion in the historic district, a reflection of her success and old money background. The porch light was on, and she answered the door before I could knock. "Come in. We need to discuss this situation carefully." Her study was lined with legal texts and family photographs spanning 4 generations of attorneys. She poured 2 glasses of brandy and settled into the leather chair behind her desk. "Frederick, what I'm about to tell you cannot leave this room. 3 weeks ago, I received a call from Declan Whitmore. He claimed to have discovered irregularities in several client files and wanted to discuss them privately." She paused, studying my reaction. I agreed to meet with him, thinking he'd found legitimate errors that needed correction. Instead, he presented me with fabricated correspondence, suggesting that you had been sharing confidential client information with competing firms. The accusation hit like a physical blow. "That's impossible. I've never—" "I know." The documents were sophisticated forgeries, but they contained enough accurate details to seem credible. Declan claimed he discovered them while organizing files during his final week. She opened her desk drawer and retrieved a manila folder. He demanded $50,000 to keep the information private, threatening to file a bar complaint and contact our clients directly if I refused. The folder contained photocopies of correspondence bearing my digital signature, letters to attorneys at rival firms discussing client strategies and confidential financial information. The documents looked authentic, complete with proper letterhead and formatting. "I paid him," Octavia continued, "not because I believed the allegations, but because the damage to our reputation would have been catastrophic, regardless of the truth. Our clients trust us with their most private affairs. Even false accusations could destroy that relationship." The pieces were falling into place. Declan had created fake of my misconduct, then used it to extort money from the firm. The subsequent data breaches were likely his method of gathering additional leverage or selling information to competitors. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I needed time to investigate properly. I hired a private security firm to examine our systems and trace the source of the forged documents. They confirmed what you've discovered tonight, Someone has been systematically compromising our digital infrastructure. She handed me a second folder containing the security firm's preliminary report. The analysis revealed that the forged correspondence had been created using advanced document manipulation software, with metadata carefully altered to suggest legitimate creation dates and sources. The security firm traced the forgeries to a computer at Declan's new firm. He's been using our stolen client information to help his new employer target our accounts, while simultaneously extorting money to keep quiet about his fabricated. The scope of the betrayal was staggering. Declan had not only stolen confidential information but had also framed me for misconduct, forcing the firm to pay for his silence while he continued his criminal activities. "We need to contact the authorities," I said. "Already done. I've been working with the Iowa State Bar Association's Disciplinary Division and the FBI's White Collar Crime Unit. They've been building a case against Declan for the past 2 weeks." She stood and walked to the window, gazing out at the quiet street. "Frederick, there's something else you need to know. The security investigation revealed that you weren't his only target. He's been running similar schemes against 3 other firms in the city, using the same methods to steal information and extort money." The revelation added another layer to his criminal enterprise. Declan hadn't simply betrayed our firm. He'd built an entire operation around legal document forgery and corporate espionage. How much did he steal in total? From us? Beyond the $50,000 in extortion, we estimate he accessed files representing over $40 million in client assets. The potential damage to our reputation and client relationships is incalculable. My phone buzzed with another security alert. This time, someone was attempting to access our case management system using my credentials. The attack was happening in real time, even as we discussed the situation. Octavia noticed my expression. "What is it?" "Someone's trying to hack into our system using my login information. Right now." She reached for her phone. "I'm calling Agent Martinez. This ends tonight." Agent Martinez arrived within 30 minutes, accompanied by 2 cybersecurity specialists and a prosecutor from the Polk County Attorney's Office. The conference room transformed into a command center as they set up monitoring equipment to track the ongoing intrusion attempt. "Mr. Newcastle, we need you to log into your system normally," Agent Martinez instructed. "Our team will monitor the breach in real time while maintaining the appearance that you're unaware of the attack." I accessed the case management portal while the specialists watched multiple screens displaying network traffic and access logs. The hacker was methodical, searching through client files with surgical precision. "He's targeting the Morrison estate file," I observed. "That's a $12 million trust administration we're handling." "Perfect," the prosecutor said. "We'll have him on attempted theft of confidential information, computer fraud, and violation of attorney-client privilege." The cybersecurity team traced the intrusion to an IP address registered to Declan's new firm. Within minutes, they had enough to obtain emergency search warrants for both his office and residence. "We're moving now," Agent Martinez announced. "Mr. Newcastle, I need you to remain here with Ms. Greenfield while we execute the warrants." The next 4 hours passed in tense silence. Octavia and I reviewed the security footage again, documenting every instance of unauthorized access. The pattern was clear. Declan had been systematically harvesting our most valuable client information for months. At 2:30 a.m., Agent Martinez called with an update. "We found everything. Declan had detailed files on 17 different law firms, including yours. His computer contained over 300 forged documents, client lists worth millions in potential business, and of ongoing extortion schemes." "What about the money?" "We traced the payments to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. He's been running this operation for over 2 years, targeting small to mid-size firms across the Midwest." The scope of Declan's criminal enterprise was breathtaking. He'd built a sophisticated network of document forgery, corporate espionage, and extortion that extended far beyond our firm. "When will you arrest him?" "We already have. He's in federal custody, charged with wire fraud, computer crimes, and racketeering. The U.S. Attorney's Office is treating this as organized criminal activity." Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by concern for our clients. What about the confidential information he stole? We've secured all his digital devices and frozen his accounts. Our forensics team will work with your IT department to ensure no client data was compromised or distributed. The following morning brought a parade of meetings with partners, clients, and insurance representatives. The firm's managing partner, Declan Ashworth, called an emergency session to address the crisis. The good news is that our malpractice insurance will cover the extortion payments and any client damages, he announced. The bad news is that we're facing potential bar complaints and civil lawsuits from affected clients. 3 clients had already filed formal complaints with the Iowa State Bar Association, alleging that our security failures had compromised their confidential information. The disciplinary investigation would take months to resolve. Frederick, I want you to know that the partnership stands behind you completely, Ashworth continued. The security investigation cleared you of any wrongdoing, and we're prepared to fight these complaints aggressively. Over the next 6 weeks, I spent countless hours with investigators, providing testimony and documentation for both the criminal case and the bar proceedings. The Law Society Disciplinary Division assigned Special Agent Jennifer Martinez from Financial Crimes to coordinate with the federal investigation. Mr. Newcastle, your cooperation has been exemplary, Agent Martinez told me during one of our final meetings. Declan's guilty plea will likely result in a 5-year federal sentence, plus restitution to all affected firms. The criminal case concluded faster than expected. Faced with overwhelming, Declan accepted a plea agreement that included full restitution and cooperation with ongoing investigations into his network of accomplices. The bar complaints proved more challenging. Despite clear of my innocence, the disciplinary process moved slowly through its bureaucratic channels. Each hearing required detailed explanations of our security protocols and client protection measures. The irony is that Declan's scheme actually improved our security, Octavia observed during one particularly frustrating session. We've implemented monitoring systems that most firms don't even know exist. She was right. The investigation had revealed vulnerabilities in our digital infrastructure that we'd never considered. The firm invested heavily in cybersecurity upgrades, making us more secure than before the breach. The final bar hearing took place on a cold December morning. The disciplinary panel had reviewed thousands of pages of, including the FBI's complete investigation file and testimony from cybersecurity experts. Mr. Newcastle, this panel finds no of professional misconduct on your part, the chairwoman announced. The complaints are dismissed with prejudice, and your record will reflect that you were the victim of criminal activity, not a participant. The civil lawsuits settled quickly once the bar cleared my name. Our insurance company negotiated modest payments to affected clients, primarily covering the costs of enhanced security monitoring for their accounts. It's over, Octavia said as we left the courthouse after the final settlement conference. Declan's in federal prison, the clients are protected, and your reputation is intact. But the experience had changed something fundamental in my approach to legal practice. The betrayal had revealed how vulnerable attorneys could be to sophisticated criminal schemes, and how little protection the traditional disciplinary system offered against modern threats. I've been thinking about starting a specialized practice, I told her, something focused on helping attorneys navigate bar complaints and professional liability issues. You mean like what you just went through? Exactly. Most lawyers have no idea how to defend themselves when faced with disciplinary action or criminal allegations. They need someone who understands both the legal system and the technology that's increasingly central to these cases. The idea had been forming throughout the investigation. I'd seen how unprepared most attorneys were for the intersection of cybercrime and professional responsibility. There was a real need for specialized defense services in this emerging area. The firm would support that kind of practice development, Octavia said. Especially given your experience with this case. As we walked back to the office, I felt a sense of closure that had been missing for months. The betrayal was behind us, justice had been served, and I had a clear vision for moving. The silence between us felt comfortable, earned through shared adversity and ultimate vindication. 18 months later, I stood in my new office overlooking the Raccoon River, watching the morning commuters cross the principal riverwalk. The nameplate on my desk read, Frederick Newcastle, Attorney at Law, Professional Defense Services. The transition from trusts and estates to specialized bar complaint defense had been smoother than expected. My phone buzzed with a text from a colleague in Cedar Rapids. Another attorney facing disciplinary action over alleged client fund misappropriation. The third referral this week. Word had spread quickly through the Iowa legal community about my expertise in defending against professional misconduct allegations. Frederick, your 10 o'clock is here, my assistant announced through the intercom, a young associate from a Waterloo firm accused of falsifying billing records. The same type of sophisticated scheme Declan had used against me, but this time targeting a different victim. I launched a practice centered on bar complaint defense, focusing specifically on cases involving digital and cybercrime elements. The intersection of technology and professional responsibility had become my specialty, born from necessity and refined through experience. The case files on my desk told similar stories. Attorneys victimized by former employees, clients, or business partners who understood how to manipulate legal technology systems. Email spoofing, document alteration, billing system hacks, case management breaches. The methods were evolving, but the underlying betrayals remained constant. Octavia had joined my practice 6 months ago as a partner, bringing her investigative skills and technology expertise. Together, we'd successfully defended 12 attorneys against disciplinary action, with 11 cases resulting in complete dismissals once the underlying criminal activity was exposed. The Iowa Supreme Court wants to discuss your proposal for mandatory cybersecurity training, she said, entering my office with a stack of correspondence. They're scheduling a presentation for next month. The proposal had grown from our experience with Declan's scheme. Too many attorneys remained vulnerable to digital manipulation because they didn't understand the technology they used daily. Basic cybersecurity education could prevent many of the cases we now handled. My computer chimed with an email notification. Another attorney seeking consultation, this time from Sioux City. The subject line read, Urgent, False Billing Allegations, Digital Issues. I opened the message and began reading the familiar pattern of accusations and denials. Another professional facing career destruction because someone had exploited their trust and their technology. Another case where the truth lay buried in server logs, metadata, and digital forensics. The work was challenging but deeply satisfying. Each successful defense validated my decision to leave traditional practice behind. Each cleared attorney represented justice served and a career saved from false accusations. Outside my window, the river flowed steadily toward the Des Moines River confluence, carrying away the debris of yesterday's storms. The metaphor wasn't lost on me. The betrayal that had nearly destroyed my career had ultimately led to something better, something more meaningful. My desk phone rang. The caller ID showed the Iowa State Bar Association. Frederick, this is the Ethics Committee. We have a complex case involving alleged document tampering and want to discuss referring the attorney to your practice for defense counsel. I reached for my calendar, already knowing I would take the case. Another attorney needed help navigating the intersection of criminal activity and professional responsibility. Another opportunity to ensure that justice prevailed over deception. The silence in my office felt different now than it had during those dark months of investigation and uncertainty. This was the silence of purpose fulfilled, of wrongs made right, of a career rebuilt on stronger foundations. It was finally over, and the silence felt earned.